There we are.
All right, ready to go. Start the recorder here. And all right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool. And we've got some guests in the green room today, Jonathan. We've got Scott Wissing, I think I think I said it right. We'll double check. And Julian DeSchutter, very Canadian sounding name.
Very
Pacific
Canadian.
Northwest name.
Yeah, right.
So he'll be dialing in from there.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm excited. Today's message, interesting little backstory. They reached out to us about helping us get more content from our podcast out in the world, and I pitched back and said, "Why don't you come on the show and pitch on the show?"
Oh,
so
nice.
That's what they're doing. So they're going to come on and
A live pitch. Live pitch.
So it won't be super formal, I'm sure, knowing our show, but basically, you came up with the title.
Yeah,
What'd you title
10x.
this?
How to 10x your was it how to 10x your content or something to that?
Yeah, you had some other stuff behind that, but how to 10x your content. We'll go with that. So
I stole it from their website, I think.
okay.
So
it does say that. It does say right on their site, 10x your content with output without any extra hassle or work.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. You got it. I had to pull up the Facebook page just to see what I had titled our content that we were 10xing, hopefully.
Yeah, because you can't see it on StreamYard when you're in the broadcast booth.
That's right.
So, all right, well, let's welcome in Scott and Julian. Welcome to the show.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the show, guys.
I was wondering if there's going to be applause in the whole nine.
Absolutely.
That was by far the best intro to a podcast that I've ever been a part of. So.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That's very sad. Hopefully that means you don't get on too many podcasts.
Oh man. No, the whole 10x thing is that is not necessarily a tagline that we run with. Yes, it is on our website, but it is literally what we do. So it's more of a literal thing and not a figurative kind of like motto that we use all the time.
Your Honor, for the record, I'd like to submit the website for evidence.
There you go. Exactly.
You go.
It's on the website.
Like that snackable pieces of social media gold. That's a good, I like that. I don't know what I like about it, but it just sounds.
Well, you're about to find out because we're going to go into it.
Everybody loves snacks.
Yeah. That's right.
Everybody loves snacks.
It's like dogs.
Yes.
Not it's in the same size. You're thinking bite-sized
not the
pieces,
same way though.
I
mean, we don't love snacks and dogs the same way. Just to be clear, this is not just that kind of show. I don't want PETA calling me.
Oh, man.
All right, so let's before we jump into the content, as usual, let's talk about beverages. Both these fine gentlemen have brought a real beverage onto the show, so we appreciate that. We always let our guests go first. So, Scott, what do you got on your?
Man, I'm like the odd man out here. So, just as a backstory, I drank a lot of beer in my life up till I was about 23 years old, and found out I had celiac disease. And so, my beer drinking days kind of ended just outside of college, and I think college probably had a lot to do with that. And so. Transitioned more over into a coffee guy. And so now I make my own, I guess you call craft cold brew coffee. And so that's what I'm drinking today. So my rating is probably going to be a little bit biased because it's something that I created, but that's what I have today.
If you can't appreciate your own work, then nobody else can either. So.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
That looks like a smoothie at first. Can you hold that up again? Because it's on the outside, it looks like something.
My color changing cup from Costco. It's classic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I thought, man, that looks like a strawberry smoothie or something.
Nope. It's definitely cold brew coffee. That's it.
So do you have any alcohol in it, or is it just cold brew coffee?
I do not have any alcohol in it right now. And once again, probably the reason is I have to go pick up my kids from school in about an hour and a half. And so I figured that might be slightly frowned upon. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
it would be.
Know.
It's fair to call, but it doesn't mean people don't do it.
Yeah, I'm
show up in the pickup line.
I get away with it, but every now and then I like to play it a little bit safe.
Please, with all the wine moms out there, you'd be fine.
Yeah,
probably the most sober one there.
So probably true, especially on a Friday.
Yes,
yeah.
In Omaha.
Omaha, yeah, you're right.
All right, so Julian, what do you have over there in Vancouver?
I'm a little bit of a connoisseur of margaritas, and so I actually lived in Mexico for 6 months last year. Came back, and within a few weeks, a buddy of mine actually launched a margarita in a can company called Olay.
Wow.
And it's actually legitimately one of the best margaritas I had. And so it was like living in Mexico, drinking margaritas every night, back into Vancouver, and it was just like the seamless transition back into normal life outside of living in Mexico. And so I have a couple of them every Friday, and they're just
go ahead and hold the can up close to the camera so we can all see it. I mean,
but for your American guests, unfortunately, they're not in America yet. They're working on it.
Olay.
So, but they're just, it's super good, super low sugar, and you just kind of one of those things you can sit there and drink 5 or 6 or 10 of them, and
like that.
It's only 1:30 in the afternoon for me, so we'll see where it goes.
Oh man,
yeah. Buy a case.
Yeah, absolutely.
They only come in 4-packs, so God bless them, right?
Oh yeah, what is
That's
up with
all
this
the new
4-pack?
stuff is all this new stuff in like these tiny little 2-packs.
Higher prices, same price point, or less stuff, same price. You're just like you grab a case, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need 2 of them.
Yeah, it's inflation.
Welcome to inflation. You know, where you're paying more for less.
Yeah. Jonathan, what do you have over there? What are you partaking of today?
Let's see. Today I have from our friends at Trim Tab Brewing over in Alabama. Had them on a number of times. It is a roasted Irish style stout. This is the first. I haven't seen this one before. Nice. It is a Cellar Reserve.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it is. I think it's going to be a great one. I had a little tiny sip. Problem is I can't find much. They don't even advertise this one on their website. So it must be a select that's not around very
seasonal
very
or something like that. Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of these craft brews. They're seasonal. You find one you like, and
gotta
wait till next year.
It's only 5. It's 5.8. It's 5.8% roasted hazelnuts and roasted walnuts. So
okay, all right.
It's got a nice aroma.
Just the amount of choices in the craft beer market in the last 5 years is
it's insane,
phenomenal. Like
yeah. I mean, this is like 260 something episodes we've done. And we continue to find new.
Never had the same drink twice.
No. Yeah, I mean, rarely. A few times, but most of the time it's something different every week. So
it's because we just like it and we, want to do it. But when we started, we were in Jonathan's office there, so we had the same beers we would share. And then I moved to Austin, so then we had 2 beers per episode. Mm-hmm. So it's been pretty crazy.
Which city has the better beer selection?
Austin.
I don't know. It's just different. I mean,
just weird.
I think there's probably more selection in Sean's neck of the woods. Although we're getting, Knoxville, smaller market, but we have, you'd be surprised the amount of, microbreweries that have popped up around this area. It's crazy.
We do get a lot of Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston breweries in Austin, as far as, because they can send out without having to go across state lines, so that's nice.
Right,
we get a lot of that stuff. A lot of my favorite breweries are up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. All right, so I've got a Black-Hearted Black India Pale Ale, which is a little different than I usually have, and it is definitely dark. So it's about as black of a pale ale as you'll ever see. So
hold that up. Let's do a little side by side there. Look at those.
Yeah.
Those are pretty dark.
Yeah. This is 7% alcohol by volume. Oof. And that's pretty light on this show, just so you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if that goes a lot higher than that for you guys. Usually, yeah.
We do a lot of stouts and Russian Imperial stouts and that kind of stuff too. So here's a copy. The Black IPA holds no ire towards lost love. It thrives on it. Remember your ex, take a few sips, and then go back to enjoying your day. There's somebody else's problem now.
That is Black-Hearted for sure.
That is Blackheart copy right there. So, all right, well, gentlemen, let's toast, and then we'll rate.
Cheers.
Nice to meet you, boys.
Cheers.
Yeah.
To the internet doing what it does.
Yep.
So who's got the ice cubes? Because I hear them
clinking.
Is that? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you can't have margarita not on ice.
Yeah,
that's true.
You got a little salt ring tray right there at your desk too.
I wish. I'm not that fancy.
You should.
But next, now I'm thinking.
Yeah, there you go. Put that in there.
So is this the first beverage that I mean, you said this is one that your friends launched. Is this a new one? I mean, or does he have any other?
He's a serial entrepreneur. He's built 3 or 4 companies and then sold one of them off, and then just kind of did the 6 months or year of I'm not doing anything.
Right.
And then step back in, and there was the boom of the vodka and the white can sodas, where just everywhere was a new vodka with soda water, and he just kind of realized that like the whole tequila market was wide open. And just started brewing just palomas and margaritas and stuff like that, and putting them out there. And kind of first little batch that they did sold out almost instantaneously, and it's just kind of systematically moved up from there, where it's just really good tequila with not a ton of sugar but a lot of flavor. And just it's kind of that thing, as you go into summer, you can just sit and drink and drink and drink without feeling sick inside or anything like that. So
yeah,
soak up that sunshine.
Yeah, just sit there and have a couple good margaritas, and
I like it.
Before you know it, it's Monday morning.
Sounds good. Yeah,
he needs to at least bring that to the Austin market. That'd be a winner down here for sure.
I believe it.
So, all right. So what we do is we rate on a scale of 1 to 5 pints. Decimals are allowed as many places as you want to go, and 5 being the best. So, Scott, we'll start with you. It's your own brew, so.
Yeah, it's my own brew, but I will say it's craft because my sister-in-law, her brother is, I don't know if you followed that chain there. My sister-in-law, her brother, he is a coffee roaster. Like he left his corporate job 5 years ago and came and did a coffee roasting. And so his brand of coffee is Reboot Roasting, and they're here in Omaha, and they are starting to get pretty big now, but their coffee is phenomenal. And so that's what I use in my cold brew. So that's a little bit of a plug to them that we're giving plugs here. So, I don't know if I'm rating my own, like I enjoy my coffee. I won't say it's the best cold brew I've ever had. I've had a couple of really good cold brews out in Estes Park, Colorado at a little shop. I need to find the name of it again because I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but I'm going to give this like a 4.3, I think. If 5 is our best, if 5 is our top scale, I'll give it a
5 is the top.
All right.
4.3. Yep. Julian, obviously you're a fan, so.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan, but now that you mentioned the salt rim and I'm missing the limes, and I'm going to go with a 4.5, but it would have been like a 4.8 minus the user error.
There you go. Wouldn't that be cool though for him if he like figured out how like packaging, like put it in a box instead of
a screw top that comes off with salt around the inside, and you
or have a pack of salt in the box that you can pour into the top, and then something like, I don't know.
That's thinking that half the drink is the experience at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we're in an experience economy right now, so
got a package, man. Package
packaging, man. That would stand out too as a packaging.
Absolutely.
Includes you couldn't include the lime, but you could certainly include the salt.
Just a little vacuum sealed lime that you peel open.
That's it.
You could do the little lime juice things.
Yeah. You
figured out how to do it with cheese.
Yeah. So. Cool.
It's great.
All right, so go ahead and give us a rating.
So I'd go 4.5, and then it would have been a 4.8 minus the user error.
Okay. All right.
No salt.
Okay. Jonathan?
Man, I'm gonna give this one a 3.2. It's not quite what I expected. A little bitter on the back taste. So
that's odd for a stout. So.
It is. It's just not quite I was expecting something a little bit sweeter. I don't like them overly sweet, but it's really it's like a bittersweet chocolate.
Okay. So not like a hoppy bitter, more of a
no hoppiness. It's just a bittersweet chocolate taste.
All right. So your rating, what was
3.2? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I knew since this was an IPA, I was treading a thin line because we're not IPA guys on this show. But I did put it in my IPA glass, the Be Hoppy glass. So, but yeah, I'm going to have to go. Oh man, I'm going to have to go 3.0 because it's got that bitterness that IPAs have at the end.
Yeah.
If I had to pick an IPA to drink, this would be it. Because most of my IPAs, we get like a 2 or somewhere in the 2s.
Yeah. So that's a good rating for an IPA.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty good on this show.
From our standards.
So
There you go.
Not terrible, but definitely
There's-
a little.
We don't drink many IPAs, but there's a few that get by the screening process, and we have to pick something up on the spot. And we'll grab something. It's hard to find these heavier beers during the summertime, so sometimes you're forced to get to kind of step out of your comfort zone, I guess.
Yeah, so 3.0 for me. So a little
Top
disappointing,
to bottom, but if you love IPAs, it's good.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you love IPAs, you may not like the black one because it's probably milder than you know, the super hoppy, but it's definitely hoppy. But it doesn't have that fruity or that floral or that pine taste to it. So that part has been taken out. It's just more the hops at the end. So I could probably, if you drank like 2 or 3 of these, the third one would be great. Especially at 7%, it'd be about perfect.
It's kind of like being at a German bar. It's like the beer gets better every time you drink one.
Weird how that happens. All right, gentlemen, let's jump into the main content of the show, or the secondary content, depending on, you know,
who you are,
how you like it. So let's talk about how to 10x your content. I told the backstory before you guys came on about how we kind of connected. So now it's your show, gentlemen. Like, tell me what Snacked is, kind of where it came from. You can talk about your agency a little bit, and then why I should care.
Julian, you want to take it, or want me to go?
Yeah, go for it, man. You're phenomenal at it.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so what Snacked is, first of all. So it's a pretty simple kind of system to understand. Basically, we found a gap in the market in terms of what people were creating and how they could get that content out to the masses effectively. And a good example of this is a lot of podcasters will create a podcast and then they will post it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and it doesn't get a lot of promotion. It doesn't get a lot of views or downloads. And so people are constantly figuring out ways to make that happen. And so what we found is that the new wave kind of content digestion right now is very much like short form. If you look through social media, you know, the attention spans of people is getting lower and lower. And so you have to kind of feed the system what it wants. Long form content definitely has its play and is super powerful. But if we can supplement it with short form content, then you can kind of have like this dual system going where you're appeasing the algorithm and you're appeasing people's way of digesting content. And then you can decide where that traffic goes once people view it. And so for a podcaster situation, you create your podcast, you send the podcast to us, let's say it's an hour, and we cut out 5 to 10 pieces that are very relevant to the episode. And we edit them up a little bit and make them short and snappy. And then we can put them on Instagram Reels. We can put them on YouTube Shorts. We could even throw them on TikTok, Facebook, wherever it lends itself to. And now you get this kind of crazy result that we're finding right now, where you can get, 5, 10,000, sometimes 15,000 views just from this short 30-second piece of content. Wow. And so that's pretty much the premise of the way that we've, structured this offer.
Well, that's interesting. Just like you said, a lot of people, or if you're searching for a podcast, it's pretty hard to show up in the podcast unless you just nail the name by accident or something like that. But with so many podcasts now, it's hard to get the perfect name. But they could stumble across. They're not going to stumble across it on iTunes or Spotify or one of those things, more than likely. But you certainly could stumble across on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or something like that. So that definitely makes sense to me.
So how do you decide what? I'm curious. So producers send the content over to you. Do you guys make the choice of what's relevant, or how does that process work? Do you get the input from the guys that produce it, or do you guys kind of go through it and make your decision how to chop that up and present that?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because we actually have people on the team that listen to the entirety of the podcasts, and pull out the moments that grab the attention. And that's, so there's two kind of things when we're always thinking about this. The first one is just genuine interest from somebody that's passively not really paying attention, right? And the reason why that matters is because almost all of us are on these social platforms not really paying attention, with a behavior of win my attention, win my attention, win my attention. And so when you have these these listeners that we have, they essentially almost slightly tuned out, paying attention for the thing that goes ding. I want to listen to that. And it actually helps because it decouples like you as the creator or the creator from the content and goes listener over here, creator there, to pull that thing apart. Right. And the second really interesting thing is you kind of do that thing is as you pay attention to how the mind builds brands, it's trying to build an association map of who somebody is. So take, Persuasion and Pints. And it's like, you start going, oh, this little clip here and this little clip here. And you start to build up, I either like what these people are about or I don't. Right. But that never has to come from like an specific long form piece of content. It gets built in this kind of association net inside the brain. And so by being able to take these long form pieces of content and chop them down into little bite-sized pieces, you create more associations of your brand inside a group of people that allow them to go, oh, this is what that person's about. And if you're the one making those small little pieces of association, the brand in their brain more often than not becomes what you want it to be, rather than simply what they come across. Right. And so that's essentially what we're trying to do with all these small pieces of content, is to put them out in a digestible, snackable way that the brain can build this brand association of, hey, I either like these guys or I don't, in which case, we listen to tons of stuff that we don't consume. But to be able to build that in a digestible way rather than, here's, it's kind of like somebody being like, hey, I got a really good book you should read. And you throw them a 700-page book and you're like, what's the percentage of how many people have said, hey, read this book versus the 3 or 4 key points you actually want them to understand. Right. The same thing's happening with the way we consume content. And so trying to make that gap easier and easier and easier, because there's tons of really good stuff that is buried that will never, ever see the light of day again. And it's, you start to think about how much, intelligence and knowledge and cool stuff is in that. And it's endless.
So do you also try to pull clips that are content, really like core content, or do you also try to pull like personality pieces out as well? Like on this show, we have incredibly witty banter and jokes and things like that. So obviously you'd want to capture some of that. Do y'all do that on a regular basis, or is it just like content that lines up with the brand message?
No, it's a combination of both, because like Julian said, I mean, you guys have a multiple dynamic kind of show. Like a lot of it, you have multiple pieces. You have your beer, your craft beer. You have your bad jokes. You have a
lot of those
bad jokes. No, I'm just kidding. Man, you have your humor, and then you also have
just shuts the recording down. That's it. Like,
dang it.
I got to get some jabs in every now and then. If I got to keep up. But no, it's multi-dynamic. So we're trying to listen, and like Julian said, we literally have people now on our team, which it didn't start this way. We have people on our team who their only task, and I say only, like I'm downplaying, like it's a really important task, but all they're doing is listening to full episodes of podcasts and then marking them and saying, this clip is this for this reason. And we always want to make sure that like there's a reasoning behind it. Like we don't just want to go through a clip and say like, or we don't want to go through a podcast and be like, okay, make sure to get a clip every 2 minutes of the podcast. Like that's not how it works. There might be a 10-minute segment where there was just, there wasn't much there, but then there's another 15-minute segment where there's like 10 things that you wanted to kind of pull out. And so we're getting better and better as a team all the time at identifying those. But, we've listened to a lot of podcasts. And so now it's, and we've watched a lot of content too, so it's not just podcasters we're working with, but podcasters is a lot of the main medium that we consume.
Sure. Right.
That brings up kind of a side question. Like, what are you guys seeing as far as like video versus audio only, or video, podcasts? A lot of people are doing video and then ripping the audio like we do. Are you seeing more and more of that, or do you still see a lot of audio only?
So once again, like that, it really just depends on the medium. And so, for example, like a podcast, great, because when most people consume podcasts, they're not consuming it like they consume, say, television. But almost nobody consumes Instagram with their eyes closed, right? And so that's kind of one of those things that you have to take in mind of like, who's consuming, what's the state they're in, what are they trying to actually accomplish when they do that? And so things like TikTok and Reels are training us to be quicker and quicker and quicker. And so there's that kind of understanding, you know, and we could argue the merits of whether we want to train our society to be quicker and quick. That's another few podcasts.
Yeah.
But just understanding, you know, where are the people you're seeking and what is the state that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And a lot of the times when somebody's scrolling through Reels, they're not looking to be intellectually mind blown, and they're not looking for long form this or that. They're looking for a quick stimulus. They're looking for a laugh. They're looking for a meme. Right. And so as you start to understand that stuff, you can start to build a better brand personality. When I say brand, I just mean like the entirety of what somebody thinks of when I say, you know, Sean or John. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's some brands that work because they're like straight, narrow, suit done. But like most people just want to feel humanity. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why things like blooper reels and all that type of stuff
Mm-hmm.
are so good. And it's like, if we can surface that, they're like, well, you know, I was 8 out of 10 on their content, but then I saw the fact that they had dogs and kids and this and, you know, and made bad jokes. And they're like,
Yeah.
and now I really like them.
Right.
And they move into that space of humanity where they're just like, oh, cool. I actually want to listen to these guys every week because I feel like I'm a part of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and as far as the video audio goes, it's like I mean, Sean, you're a copywriter. Like, so when we have a creator who only has audio, we have ways of, you know, giving the viewers a stimulus through the text. And so we're able to do like dynamic audiograms where there's some sort of really catchy title that's going to catch their attention, make them stop. And now there's no video, but it's a really good like 15-second clip. And like Julian said, like the main thing that we're trying to do is just get them to kind of stop and be like, oh, I like that. And so, you know, in a roundabout way, you can use either audio or video as long as you do it in the proper way. Moving forward, I would say that the trend right now is looking like video is going to continue to, you know, be pretty damn popular. And so our recommendation to every client we work with is that if you don't currently have video with your episodes, then we help you to understand how to make that happen. And really, it's not that much more complicated. Like, it's a couple pieces of equipment and then just the, you know, the first couple pieces of trial and error to get everything running right. But video never hurts. And so that's kind of like the long way of, you know, comparing audio versus video.
Yeah. I mean, I like video because it kind of helps, I think, as a host, co-host, to kind of tell when people are finished or not, which is harder sometimes in audio. You know, you end up talking over people, which we do anyway, but at least you kind of know you're doing it.
Yeah.
So,
and the barriers to creating have dropped so much. Like, even just look at what StreamYard's doing, or Riverside, or like that didn't exist 2 years ago. And so now with an iPhone and, you know, a very simple online app, you can have that video component, which wasn't available in 2018, 19, 20.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so the general theme is just more immersive, more immersive, more immersive. You can do that. It's more engaging.
Yeah. I noticed, I forgot to use it today, but like I noticed that StreamYard, probably because of what, whatever you just said, Riverside's doing, they've added in music on StreamYard.
Yeah.
So you can now you can have like cinematic stuff playing behind you.
Oh, wow. Feng shui.
Yeah. So like, or throw some rock in there.
That's kind of funny.
So they're building all that in because I know that's one of the big things that Riverside talked about. And, you know, not everybody has a fancy soundboard like Jonathan does to pipe in the sound effects. So I'm looking forward to, like, if StreamYard throws in some sound effects too, that would be cool. So
yeah, I think these softwares, you know, everything's getting so much easier. You know, if these softwares if they're doing their task and their job well, they're providing an experience for these users where they can feel like a professional. And that's why I think we're seeing such a rise in, you know, podcasts and all these mediums that used to be kind of more like gated a little bit, and now it's just like everyone can get in, which is good and bad. You don't ever want to just completely pollute something, but
well, that's and that's where you guys come in, because everybody's doing a podcast today. So it's like people don't have the time to go through and listen to everything out there. So I think this is to me, this is a great idea, because the question, and I think you brought it up, Julian, whether it's right or not that we're basically shortening everyone's attention span. It's happening, regardless, that people just need, there's so much information out there. People just need like bite-sized chunks of it and the most relevant parts of that. So, how do you, is there a time limit on what you guys look for, in these bite-sized chunks that you're clipping out?
Yeah, so we're kind of, playing, we don't like to disassociate content from the platforms, because ultimately you're always going to have, if you're doing content, you're going to have to be, for lack of a better term, at the mercy of whatever platform that you're posting it on. And so we like to stay up to date in not only the trends, but, what it looks like moving forward. So right now with Reels and TikTok and YouTube Shorts, those platforms are very transient. Like I can have one piece of content that lives effectively on all three of those platforms. And so we look for right now clips that are under 60 seconds so that we can kind of hit dynamically through all those platforms. And it's even sometimes better if we can find a really high quality clip under 30 seconds, because then like right now, TikTok is telling creators they want you to create clips under 7 and under 5 seconds. And you think about that and you're just like, my gosh, like, how do you even do that? And so we do like to look under 60 seconds, but occasionally, we have one of our clients, Jason, he owns a construction company where they're like a consulting company for a bunch of other construction companies, and they do a daily podcast. Not only do they do a daily podcast, but they do like all this stuff on their Facebook page. And so a lot of the content that they like is going to a different audience. So their content might be like 1 minute to 2 minutes, where it's like longer kind of educational content, because he's not necessarily right now concerned so much with Reels, or YouTube Shorts or TikTok, because he wants to educate inside of his content. And so it's just a matter of what the client needs, and then what we've seen to work in the field that, or the platform that they would, be best suited for. And then we kind of adjust.
Okay. So what you guys do is basically like the girl that stands out in front of the Chinese restaurant in the food court in the mall with a platter of chicken. Like, here, you want a sample?
Free
That's
sample.
what you guys do, right?
Yeah, that's a funny analogy in that, and it's the other really interesting thing to do is separate the creator, which is essentially the artist, from the consumption of their product, right? So, for example, if you went through your own podcast, you're going to be so much more critical about everything than if I was going through being like, I like this, I like this, I like this. This 7 seconds caught my like. As a consumer, we really don't care about other people's creations other than we consume it and we move on. Right. And so what, we've actually found internally is like when we're creating and editing our own content on podcasts, we never ship it because we overthink the hell out of it. Like one episode takes hours and hours and hours. And B, we're actually not good judges of what parts of it need to go out into the world and what format.
Yeah.
And so what we realized really quickly is like, what we want to do is help creators do the thing that no one else can do for them. Like I can't jump on this podcast and pretend to be either of you, but you can take that once it's done and put it in the world that it's bite-sized for the world to consume it. And the more we can do that, we allow creators to keep creating and not just create and have their stuff disappear, but create and have their stuff go to the world.
Sure.
Right. And to bridge that gap kind of there. And it seems to be a pretty, good flow. And like for anybody that's doing a podcast or creating, like I always recommend having an outside source that's the buffer between you judging your own material going to the world. Right. And Sean, you probably see this as a copywriter, right? People create their own stuff and it pulls up all that emotion. And
I can write for anybody else but myself.
Right.
Like, I cannot write for my own. I have to hire somebody if I want to write about me, because it's It's too close. I know too much about myself. I know my demons. I know my skeletons. Like, you
the
know,
nuances where you're hiding, like the whole.
Exactly. Like, you know, because I also do coaching, and like it's hard for me to write my own coaching stuff because, you know, I'm like, but I had an argument with my wife yesterday. Like, you know, it's like I'm a loser.
Right.
But somebody else, they don't see that, you know, and although sometimes obviously you can reveal that, like you were talking about with the humanness, and like actually revealing some of that is okay. But even that's something I don't think is okay. But somebody, you know, one of your people might say, no, that was great that you actually admitted that on a show. You know, that's super valuable and vulnerable.
Right.
And put Brene Brown on the map, right? Talking about breaking down and stuff. So
no, I think that's kind of the cool trend, you know, with a lot of the things that are happening on social media and everyone talking about how it's like poisoning everyone and it's, you know, rotting our brains. I think you have to look past that sometimes and look at the good that's coming out of it. And I think the trend right now recently is like you said, Sean, like more vulnerability and like more ability to just put yourself on a camera or get your thoughts out to the world, and in a way that doesn't create a lot of friction. Like you could literally, anyone could start a podcast today. You know, you get your camera, you don't even need a phone camera, but if you had a phone, you can record it. You get a $20 microphone from Amazon. It's not going to sound great, but you have the ability to start doing this stuff. And I think it empowers a lot of people to say, you know, that's the first step that they take to getting out there. And there's always going to be haters. There's going to be the idiots that are like, oh my gosh, why are you doing that? But usually that's just jealousy from somebody else that comes in. Yeah. And so it's kind of a cool trend. And like you were just talking about, it's really cool to deliver a product to our clients who are very particular of what they're doing, and then for them to play it back and hear it, and for us to say, you know, these are amazing clips, and then they post it on Reels and it gets 10,000 views, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I relate to this so much. And that feeling is not just like a dopamine rush, which it will be a dopamine rush, but at the same time, it's like, it's validation that you don't have to overthink all this stuff so much. Like, as long as you get your message out to the world, more than likely, if it's not horrendous, it's more than likely going to resonate with a lot of people. And I think that's the cool thing about what we help, you know, our clients do, is just get it out and ship it.
So I want to pull this piece up real quick. So what we can create from a single piece of content, we've talked about it a little bit. Turn each of your podcasts into dozens of pieces of content. So here's some like just little screenshots. Not sure how well that shows up. But so Mike Koenigs is is he one of your clients?
So he was a guest. He was a guest on one of our client Nicholas's show. And Nicholas is a pretty prominent. He's a TikTok Reels guy, so he has a pretty good following on those platforms.
So is this right here, kind of the top row, right side? I noticed the little waveform. So that's an audio bit that doesn't have video with it. Is that kind of what some of the graphics and treatments you guys do for, like, if it's an audio only, or you just want to pull audio, you know, or maybe the host was picking their nose while they said something amazing. Like this is what you would do for that.
Yeah. So we're able to, you know, these showcases are more just like showing what we're able to do, and they're not dynamic and they're not live, so you don't get to actually see them going, but it's just to give you an idea of, you know, one episode, we can turn it into, you know, this many pieces of unique content. And so we can do quote cards, which you see there on like the far right. Those are just like static pieces of content where it's just Nick and a quote. And then, you know, the ones with the waveform are audiograms. So if you don't have video, we can make it dynamic. And then the ones with them in the middle with the video, those are actual like functioning videos with captions and titles. So we're able to do a lot of different things. And the cool part about it is we give every one of our clients a custom brand kit. And so you just tell us, you know, what colors you want, and then we design all of your stuff, you know, pretty much bespoke, and we design it so that it looks really high quality, so that when you share it on social media, you know, not only is it your clip, but it's a very highly branded clip that, you know, is appealing to people's eye. And so that's kind of what we want to do there.
All right. So if I have a brand book, I already know my font and I already know my colors, I can give that to you, and you're going to make sure everything matches.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
So you're delivering this back to, so once you do this, once you cut these pieces of content, are these go right back to your clients and they post them, or do you guys post them for them?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Julian, you want to take that?
Yeah, so it depends on the level of control that somebody would want over their own account. Like in a perfect world, the answer is always post. Like the business owner should be able to create more value in their business not posting than they do spending time posting, right? And so that's always one of the conversations that we have is the time like spent posting on Instagram or TikTok or all that type of stuff. Could you use that time to grow revenue up front, grow sales, grow something else, create another podcast, et cetera? And if the answer is yes, we'll work with them to try and get to that point. We do manage a lot of the posting for our clients, but we always give the opportunity back to them if they want to. Some of the podcasts that we're working with, it's literally just a growth thing where it's like they're starting out. So it's like, cool, you got that little ball of energy that's this podcast that you're trying not to suck energy out of financially. So it's like, we'll do all the tedious stuff of the videos and stuff like that, send it back. But as most of our clients grow and build the ecosystem around them that supports the reason why they're doing the podcast, we end up taking on basically most of it to the point where our clients are like, strategize what I'm going to say, make sure that the videos are done, post them on. So I don't want to deal with it because I'm going to spend all of my time having conversation after conversation after conversation or whatever else they do in their business. And to us, like that's kind of the whole point of it in the first place, is as far as like allowing the human to just create, right? Like most of us don't want to spend time on social. Like if you actually ask most people, they're like,
No.
I dread that stuff, and so it's really easy for us to have one person who gets in the flow and posts for 10, 20, 30 different people at once than it is to stop a human every single day of the week and be like, cool, now go build your post on Instagram, right? It's very inefficient to do that. And so we give the option if needed, just because as the businesses grow, that generally becomes just the most effective way to do it.
Sure. Yeah, that really resonates with me because in my coaching business, copywriting business, even like just the way my brain works, I'm like, oh, I should record more content, but I know I'm not going to post it. I know I'm not going to edit it up. So why create it? Like, it's not even worth the time.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. And I've worked with people that are the same way. They're like, I'd love to create content, but I know nobody's going to see it. So what's the point? Right. Yeah. So,
well, then you start the guilt loop and you feel bad because you recorded it's sitting on a hard drive. You're like,
yeah. I came across,
oh man, I'm the total opposite. I like to record everything that I do. Well, not everything, but like podcast everything, because Sean and I do this podcast, and then I have two very industry specific podcasts that I do in the industry that I'm in, that serves a lot of the manufacturing space out there, in industrial manufacturing. And so I'm all the time thinking of ways to, whenever I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm like, hey, we should record this.
And then what do you do with it? What do you
pulls
do
out a little tripod.
Oh, I post it. Dude, I go to trade shows. So what's that?
You just post it. You just record it. You post it raw. Like you just put it out.
No, I have it edited and cleaned up, and then we add our stuff into it. But sometimes the raw stuff, though, I mean, I'll post stuff on the fly. Like if I'm at trade shows or stuff, like we're posting like live content from a trade show that I'm at. I'll walk around and record interviews with, companies out there that are doing some really cool stuff. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I throw this up? No, some people are some people are kind of hesitant because it's like sometimes there's proprietary information out there. And so,
yeah. But you're just throwing it up on the industry website that you
have,
right?
Yeah.
The podcast website.
Yep.
As opposed to
yeah, I'm not putting this isn't going on social media. It's going on our specific, channels, our web channels that I've created in our team. So so I tell them listen, this isn't going on TikTok. This is not a TikTok because this is really professional stuff that goes out there, but they're seeing it. But they're seeing it on LinkedIn. It's on LinkedIn. So I mean, that's different platform, but a lot of people are putting their content out there, you know, in a professional sense. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like, you know, I mentioned these platforms being transient. They really are more than ever right now in terms of being able to multi, you know, multi-platform post the same type of content. And I think the coolest part about it is it's just more viewership. And so like when 2 years ago, people had this whole thing where it's like focus on one channel and do that. And I still see the benefit to that. Like if you get really good on one channel, you know, you become a authority there. But most people aren't going to be those people with 200, 300,000 followers, but you don't necessarily need that. If you're putting something on different platforms where you have different audience, it's getting pushed out, you're becoming top of mind and brand authority just by being consistent. And I think that's the one thing we wanted to do with this offer is, like Julian said, we want it to be as little of work for you as possible to get this stuff out, because there are audiogram softwares, there's Wave, there's Headliner, there's, you know, all these other softwares that do it. But what do you have to do to get it? You got to actually manually go in, put in the time, edit it, edit your transcription. Like we do all that. And so we want you to just literally, like we have one of our clients, Ruby, she's a real estate investor, and she literally has us do everything. She takes coaching calls, podcast interviews. She doesn't have her own podcast. She takes training sessions, live calls, and she just dumps them all into the uploader, and we just go through it. We clip it out, and we have a running library of like 50 to 60 pieces of content for her. And she literally doesn't even have to open social if she doesn't want to. And we just take care of all of it for her. So like, that's the piece that we wanted to build in to take off the plate of everyone else.
Yeah, that's the dream right there. So that's interesting. I don't want to gloss over one thing you said there. You said she doesn't even have her own podcast. She's just a guest on
She's
podcast?
a guest on other. Yeah. That's cool.
That's brilliant. Like,
so, I mean, really any type of long form content creator, like YouTuber, if you're a guest on podcast, if you do live streams, if you know, like you said, Jonathan, like you could have an interview with somebody and just not even a formal one, and you record it, drop it to us. And then, you know, we can turn that into content. And I think that becomes really powerful for people. Then they don't have to sit there and think like, what needs to go viral and what needs to do this.
Great.
So
love that.
Yeah. You ever remember in like the football games where like they mic the guy up and he's just like running around and saying like, and you just realize he says sometimes hilarious, stupid, witty stuff, like sometimes really brilliant stuff. And then like, that's really the same thing. It's like, if you could take all the good stuff you say in a day that, you know, the rest of it here, that's extremely valuable.
Those reels are addicting, man. You can go through like once you get sucked into the reel game where you're just watching one after another, and you know it's brilliant how they do the, you know, the algorithms, because it's all based on what you typically spend the most time, you know, viewing. So then you have your own compilation of everything that you typically, which in my reels are typically clips from mini clips of Seinfeld. You know, that's one of them. Joe Rogan clips, you know. And food clips, man. I like barbecue, especially like people that are doing that are grilling or barbecuing. Like, man, I just see those constantly.
Yeah, that is so wild how everybody's feed is so different. Like we just assume everybody's watching the same stuff as us.
No.
You know, but everybody's like, I've, you know, leaned over and, you know, with half an eye open, like seeing what my daughter's looking at, or she's 21, or my wife. And I'm like, wow, that's very different than what's in my feed. Like totally different. So that's interesting. Like,
absolutely.
I love Seinfeld, but I don't have any Seinfeld clips in mine.
Oh man, I've getting like all the greatest like clips of Kramer, you know. It's so funny. It's so funny.
And that just stokes those
it makes
licensing deals for those guys. They're just
oh my god,
getting checks.
It's great. It's great.
But like I think that brings up like a really powerful point, because like people always ask us like what's the secret? Like you know, like
you're gonna give away the secret?
How do you crack the algorithm? And I was like if you could crack the algorithm, it's game over. You win, right? Like because you'd build companies and you'd print billions of dollars. Like the algorithm is exactly what they told it to. They want engagement. Engagement for them equals money. Engagement for us means good, consistent content. That's it. Like there's no, and like people like, this one didn't do that well. And I'm like, well, it was 7 days between your last one. Like think about how much somebody has consumed since your last post, you know? And so you go on there and somebody posted something that you watched the entirety of, and then you spent 7 days watching Seinfeld. The next post you get
Right.
is Seinfeld, not that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And so I always just joke to people, like, the secret to all of it is consistent posting. And
Yeah.
like,
and relevant content
content.
too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, one trend that I see, anything that's relevant to what's going on today, whether it's, you know, you
Timely,
think timely, Elon Musk in the news, you know, Twitter, all of that stuff. Johnny Depp, you know, I don't know how many times, and I don't even follow that stuff, but I see those reels pop up occasionally, and I'm like, I don't even care. You know, I don't watch. I'm not like one of these people that just follow this trial. You know, I have no idea what's going on there, but I see it and you know, you see micro clips of that and like, you know,
Yeah,
because it's super interesting, and you know, like Julian said, the algorithm is really smart, and they feed you stuff that even if it's not something you really would follow, like they it's interesting, and that's the cool thing and the scary thing about it, though. It's like
absolutely
it really
brought me
knows
into
our
that
brains.
world where I didn't even want to be in that world, but then I'm sucked in because I see this is like a train wreck of a relationship, and you're like, wow, I mean, this is crazy.
It's very metaphysical, right? Like if you get into like collective consciousness and all that kind of stuff, like that's what social media does. Like it aggregates the collective consciousness. It favors what most people are talking about. So you don't feel left out if you're in the conversation at a party. It's like, did you see what Johnny Depp said? It's like, oh yeah, I saw that. Sorta on a 15-second splice of a little reel.
Not much context behind that, but yeah, I saw it.
But at least you know what they're talking about, you know, so you don't feel left out. Which is a big thing. Yeah, it's, you know, Scott and Julian, we were talking before the show, you know, while we were waiting around on Jonathan, about Brendan Burchard and his content, and he said something about the algorithm. He's like, same, almost what you said, Julian. He's like, it's recency. Like if you want to know what the algorithm is, it's recency and consistency. You know, if you do those two things, like if you're posting often, that's why he suggests posting 4 times a day, because most people are on a couple times a day throughout the day,
at least.
At least. Don't look at your screen time, people. It might hurt. So yeah, if you can be on there 4 times a day, you're more likely to get featured. And you just show that you're more active, right? So they're like, oh, he's on more because he's posting. He's probably going to scroll while he's on, you know, to see what else is going on. So they're going to favor your stuff a little bit more because that's what the game's about. You're the product.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I think with a lot of our clients, we work with them, you know, the thought of posting every day is extremely overwhelming for a lot of them, or even having enough content to do that. And so we try to find, like, that's why, you know, our offers start at, you know, 10 videos. So like we can get you 10 videos for your month. That's like 1 post every 3 days. That's a really good place to start and just kind of start growing out from there. But the other thing we like to educate on is you can have pillar content. Like if you gave us your podcast, we chop it up. We have these 10 videos waiting. You can still be posting content like in between there. And it doesn't have to be like this long, you know, drawn out like traditional post. Like what I find works really well for us and our business on Facebook is just like these short kind of like polarizing, you know, quotes to start conversations where, you know, kind of like what you guys said about the 10X to start. Like you'll just post a quick post that's like, you know, this whole 10X thing has just gotten crazy. And then you get the engagement, and that might not get you a client or that might not get you a sale. But like you said, it shows that platform that people are interested in what you have to say. And then you become this, it gives you more volume of people coming to see your stuff. And so when you do post that pillar content from your podcast or your coaching call, now you're getting more people back to it. And so there's kind of this, I don't know, it's never manipulation of the algorithm. It's just like understanding that have your pillar content, supplement it occasionally, but don't stress out about it. Like don't sit there and try to make these ridiculously long videos and posts if you don't really know what to post. Like it shouldn't be a stressful thing. So.
Do you guys take care of stuff like captions and all that as well?
You bet. Yep.
That's one of your packages.
Yeah. We basically like we'll do everything from the second you hit end on the podcast all the way through till posting.
Okay.
Just to manage, like going back to that philosophy of like, we can't record your podcast and we can't create your content for you and we can't do your coaching calls for you. But if you're you know, if the system is structured right, that's the pocket that you should play in, and everything else shouldn't be done by you because you can't do what's creating the value while that you're doing that, essentially.
Right.
So both of you have mentioned coaching calls. That's interesting. Like, how does that work? And, you know, confidentiality, things like that, that you kind of respect that. How are you dealing with that with coaches or anybody else? Like Jonathan, he's got some clients that you might talk to, be an interesting conversation for people interested in sales or whatever. But you've got
Yeah,
some
it's definitely
confidentiality.
something we're really transparent with our clients. You know, we don't ever want to do anything that's going to violate somebody's, you know, if they want anonymity, like we don't want to be putting them out there. And so it's a conversation to have. If it's a big corporation, there's usually going to be more rules, but most of the time if you're a coach, you know, you got 10 or 15 people in your group and you're having these weekly conversations, a lot of them aren't necessarily like focused on the one individual on the other side. Usually, you know, you're giving a good amount of information, and you know,
Okay.
if you record that, we have the ability to take you saying a lot of these really, you know, profound or you know, helpful things to people and just clip those out of there. And you know, take those and use them not only as, you know, interactive content in social, but you could almost use it as educational content where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, you have somebody interested in your service and you're like, hey, here's this coaching call I did, and here's this 2-minute blurb on how to automate your LinkedIn outreach. And now you have like, not only you have, like I said, not only the social content, but you have a library of education that is on demand that you can pretty much just shuffle out whenever you need it.
Kind of like a
Nice.
video FAQ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And that's and anymore, you know, we don't like to follow like tons of mentors. Julian talks about this a lot. Like if you follow like 100,000 people, you know, you're getting all these information. And so we try to stick to like, okay, you know, we follow this guy for cold email and we follow this guy for story branding. And so the people we follow, we're finding, it's kind of funny, like they have been doing this for a while now. And the reason that we are interested in their content is because they take these intimate sessions where it's a coaching call or whatever it is, and then they share that little clip. Like the guy that we actually hired to do a lot of our cold email stuff, like I have been on his bandwagon for about 6 months now, and all he does every day is he has coaching calls with people and then he posts 2 or 3 minute blurbs, and that's how he educates. Like he doesn't do it on YouTube, he doesn't do a podcast. Well, he does a podcast, but a lot of his stuff is just these short little blurbs. And I'm like, man, I learned more about cold email from his 1 to 2 minute clips every day than I've ever learned from any other platform in my entire life. And so that really connected with us. We were like, man, this can be powerful, you know, if we just structure it out the proper way.
Yep.
So
tell me, how do guys, we're getting close on our time here. So there's obviously a question we haven't asked, and like how much does this stuff cost? Like, is this like going to cost me $10,000 a month? Is it, is it $39 a month?
Nice. Start high.
Or is it somewhere in between? I'm guessing it's somewhere in between. So I'm trying to give you guys some leadway there, but.
Yeah, so our packages start at the lowest level of $600 a month and generally run between, you know, like in podcast terms, 1 to 4 podcasts, depending on how long that is, right? So we actually do it not on number of podcasts, but on essentially loose number of minutes coming in, and more importantly, post going out. Right.
Okay.
And some people just naturally, like, it's amazing. You listen to their podcast and like every 30 seconds, you're like, clip that, send that, clip that. Like, and then there's other people that are just, their natural tonality in speaking is more long-winded and they kind of get around. So you learn to figure that out, but they generally start around $600 and then they scale up depending on the number of pieces of content that you need. And then whether you want to like amplify that content. So we'll turn like a single clip into other forms of content to allow you to repost it over and over and over again. Because one, most people that follow you are not consuming 100% of what you can actually publish. If anything, they're consuming less than 5%. So it allows you to have the same message multiple times in different formats. So it never gets, it feeling repetitive.
Give them an example of that, Julian. Like, give them an example of what you mean by that, like different types of content.
Yeah. So for example, like if we have a video of us right here, and you know, there might be a 60-second video inside of this that's really good that we want to publish in a single 60-second clip. And then you might actually want to just take 15 seconds out of it, because that 15 seconds slightly changes the context or lands differently. And then you can take that. So you have a 60-second video, a 15-second short video, and then you turn that into like a quote card that gets published on Instagram stories that then links back to the original piece of content that you post 2 months down the road. Right. And you can see how quickly this stuff starts to get overwhelming for the brain if you start to do it. But as long as you have very simple systems that pull these things out and break them apart, which is the advantage of us working in it all day.
Sure.
Have those, all of a sudden it becomes really simple to have more content than you can actually handle having on social media. Yeah. And that's always an interesting thing, is like, we can generally take say a podcast that's doing a podcast a week and produce more content than you feel comfortable posting on social media.
Right.
Right.
Easily,
which is
easily do that.
Opposite of the problem that almost everybody has. And it's not because they're not producing the content. Like, even right now, we've produced an hour of content. Right. So even on the simple basis that, you know, there's say 50 clips inside this hour, that's good. That's a month of content right there.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Wow.
The problem is it's going from this 1 hour, which is a gigantic ball of content, and pulling it apart into all the little mechanics of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is
I think
cool.
I think the cool part is, like, and if there's anybody that's listening to this that is a podcaster, like, this is kind of where we start to educate with our podcasters. Like, sometimes we think of episodes that, like, you guys have had what, 200, and you said 260 episodes now or something like that.
Yep.
So I don't know what your stats are, but, like, you know, comparatively speaking, I'm assuming episode 258 is getting quite more views than episode 1. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah,
okay. And so as a podcaster, like, if you've done a podcast and your content has stayed relatively similar and relevant as you've grown with the podcast, it doesn't mean the content from podcast number 1 is any worse than the content from episode 254. And sometimes it's even better. And so the traditional way of a podcast is you upload your podcast, and then, like, the most recent one is the most popular one. What we can do with content repurposing is we can go back to episode 1 and pull 5 or 6 clips from that and 3 quote cards. And now you can schedule those to go out on day 14, day 30, day 60, day 80. And so now podcast number 1 lives for like 2 years, you know, whereas it was just sitting in this very one small moment of time. And so that's another, like, that's just a kind of like a tip or a trick. If you're a content creator or a podcaster, like, you can do that yourself. Like, you can go onto Canva and create a nice quote card with your image on it and a couple of those, and then share them every now and then link them to your podcast. And now you're going to be getting traffic back to your podcast that you otherwise wouldn't get if your podcast just sat in Spotify.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Because, you know, we have, and one way to gauge that is, you know, sometimes the comments from way back, like, you know, you'll see, you know, comments from certain episodes that were like on our show page that may go back, you know, a year or so ago. There's like, I don't even remember that, you know, but somebody's talking about that. And obviously if they're mentioning it, it must've been really important to them. So those are kind of clues that you should say, you know, I might want to take that and, like, you know, spin that out and repurpose that into some bite-sized chunks, you know?
Exactly. Because I think we lose, you know, when we create so much content, you guys have done 250, 260 episodes. You have so much content, and you haven't even scratched the surface to, you know, go through there and continue to post it. And you know, the good analogy I like to use is I started my YouTube channel over 2 years ago, and I literally got a comment today on the first video I ever produced that was like, "You've changed my life so much," and, like, I found you and blah, blah, blah. And not only that, but we've linked my YouTube channel to, like, you know, funnels that lead into email marketing campaigns, and people are still opting into those every single day. And, you know, that's content that's way back. And so we like to say, you know, your content you've had forever is always powerful. Like, how do we extract that and, you know, create as much, I don't know, legwork out of all that you've done?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny. I had something similar happen today. I've written some articles for AWAI, who teaches copywriting. I haven't written for them in years. Like, most of what I wrote was 2010 to 12, somewhere in there. And I got an email today that somebody commented on one of the old articles that I'd written, like from literally 10 years ago.
That's crazy. Yeah,
The
that's
stuff
crazy.
just, I mean, that stuff just hangs out there. And if you could
That's right.
recycle some of it,
Exactly.
it's still relevant for the most part, unless you're talking about him, stock picks.
Yeah,
or something.
if it's current events or dates
Johnny
and
Depp
times,
trial
it's not
or
as
like-
relevant. But yeah, technology, software, copywriting, like a lot of that is stays
evergreen
pretty
stuff.
consistent. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that's
really
the
cool.
really cool part is like, and this is that, it gets into that nuance of social media where like social media is going to have a bias towards trending things today, such as Johnny Depp.
Right.
But, and SEO has shown this over and over and over again, really good messaging that's full of truth withstands the test of time. And, quotes from Buddha, the Bible, like all that stuff is thousands of years old, completely medium agnostic, has transcended everything. And yet we still consume it today. We don't care about publish date, publish form. Like it's irrelevant. Right. And so the same goes for so much of the actual content we're creating. If the messaging is good and it's going to resonate on a human level. And like, once you realize that, you're like, we got so much stuff, it becomes overwhelming because we don't know what to do with it. Right. And then becomes the tedious process of, okay, pull it out, extract it, do it. But all of those, and I'll say this over and over and over again, for the brand in the consumer's mind, they don't care where it comes from. They don't care what platform they watched it on. They don't care how long it was. All they go is they either liked it, were engaged, or didn't.
Yep.
Right. And so you start looking at like Joe Rogan clips, which is not the podcast, it's short form.
Right.
Most people consume 3 or 4 of those, are like, oh, I like this. And then they're willing to listen to a 2.5, 3 hour podcast, not the other way around.
Yeah. That pulls them in. Yeah.
Right. And so social media, for whatever form, it's where people are spending your time. It's the low hanging fruit to find people to then draw back to the podcast rather than the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to create that gateway.
Yeah.
Gateway drug.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, this has been really fun. So how can people find out more about you? I know you've got a couple sites. We didn't really get into the agency thing. But how can people find out more about what you do and Snacked and all that?
Yeah, just head to snacks.io if you want to check out the page. It's extremely transparent. It's a situation where we want to get on a call with you just to understand what your needs are. And so, we're not trying to hide the fact that we want to get you on this secret sales call. Like if you like what you see and you kind of need that service, we schedule a time to talk. We chat for 30 minutes. We give you the whole breakdown, everything. And then, if it's something you want to proceed with, then obviously we can do that. But essentially, you head there, book a call and, schedule in automatically and we can chat with you. Other than that, Facebook under our names, Instagram, like we're on different platforms. And so, if you want to reach out and have a conversation with us, you'll probably easily be able to find us.
I don't see any Instagram links on your site.
Oh, not on the Snacked page. Sorry. No, if you want us to drop our links in and everything, but like Julian's pretty active on Instagram. I'm more active on Facebook. And so, we kind of have our different platforms. So
yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah. And can I say that I love that your icon for a snack is a full slice of pizza?
Oh, this is a whole different conversation that we were going to have. We were going to have this conversation.
So here's the question, the most philosophical question. At what point is one piece of pizza a snack, but a whole one becomes a meal? Is there a number?
I think that's an unanswerable question.
Right?
I think of a slice is a snack.
Yeah.
Slice.
Okay. All right. Because when we started out, we were with a popsicle to start out. Because I was like, this is more of a snack. And Julian's like, well, I like pizza. And I'm like, well, I like pizza too, but it's not a snack. It's a meal. So we had this whole debate whether a pizza was a snack. And so we were going to settle it. We forgot to bring it up, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Whole pizza meal. Yeah.
One
a single
slice
snack.
Yeah. Like a cheese stick is a snack, right? But a slice of pepperoni.
But a whole brick of cheese is not.
Yes.
But that's a meal. Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, but I think the intention is like when you get a pizza, you're not planning on the intention is not one slice. It's like until I'm full. So
unless it's the morning after and you're like, I just need a little
that's true. That's true.
Right.
Pre-workout right there.
Most important question we asked all day right there. Is a pizza a snack?
Pizza. That's right.
Yeah. If only there was a way to if only there's a way to take that 30 seconds and put it out in the world, that would be
Oh, that's going
amazing.
in there. Like we'll clip this out and send it over to you, and you're gonna get that clip for sure. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, you wanna close us out?
Yep. Speaking of pizza, I love. Here's another clip. Those clips from. I don't know if you guys follow Barstool. What is it, Dave Portnoy? With
Dave
his
Portnoy, yeah.
every one bite. Everybody knows the rules. One slice. So I'm convinced that he would tell you one slice is a snack. So.
Perfect. That's perfect.
We're gonna go on a mission to get him on camera.
Yeah, let's
and say
get Dave
that.
on that.
Instead of
That's
like,
yeah,
Dave
that'd be all.
Portnoy says it. It's true.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
We're gonna put you guys in the green room, hang out for
Yep.
just a second, and
Yep.
while we wrap, and then we'll come back to you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much. Yeah,
Right.
we'll we look forward. Maybe we can revisit again for the agency and talk to you guys again in the future. Love to
Yeah,
have
it's
you
all
back
good.
on.
It's just that's our kind of parent company, and then Snacked is our main offer, so we're all good.
Okay, good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, gentlemen, and we'll visit with you guys here in a sec. Good stuff, man. You know,
that's cool.
it's fascinating that they found. I always love stories like this because you find a gap in the market, which I think this is huge, and I think it's only going to get bigger over time because of the amount of content out there that's being produced on a regular basis. People,
Well, for creators, it's a totally different skill set. Like it's just not
Yeah.
what most creators want to be doing. Like
they don't,
or they're not even good at it.
and most people can't. They're not Joe Rogans. They can't hire. They don't have their own team doing this.
They're not getting a $134 million contract to hire a
That's
team.
right. That's right. So, I mean, I think this is a perfect service for people out there to take, like we were just talking about, taking some of those past episodes and repurposing those and bringing those out into short clips.
Yeah, for sure.
We got to talk to them for sure, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, to all of our listeners, if you're podcasting, if you're doing video, if you're doing TikToks, all of that stuff, this is a good place to start. We will be posting the links, snacked.io. And, if you have questions or comments, you can reach us over at persuasionbythepint@gmail.com. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms, Stitcher Radio, iHeart, Spotify, you name it. And also follow us over at our Facebook Facebook groups over at Persuasion by the Pint. Sean, it's been fun, man. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
All right. Cool. Good stuff. All right. So.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. That was good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for